Are you ready to learn to get rid of stress in your life? To learn how to deal with the emotional turmoil that causes strokes, heart attacks, bad health, and even weight gain? Life-changing habits for work, family, and everyone you deal with start here with Andrew Wittman. It's time for Get Warrior Tough on WCCP. 105.5 The Roar. Here's Andrew Wittman.
What is going on? It's time to Get Warrior Tough, the most monumental hour in media anywhere. We are leadership and mental toughness coaches Andrew Wittman and Harold Dutch Coleman. What's up, brother?
What's happening? How you doing tonight?
Good, man. You look fantastic.
Thank you. Likewise.
Hey, if you guys want to join us on Twitter, use the hashtag Get Warrior Tough. And Dutch, tell them where they can get a hold of you. What's your Twitter handle?
At the Dutch Coleman. At the Dutch Coleman.
At the Dutch Coleman, and I'm at Andrew_Wittman. And if you could misspell it 50 ways, so just go to hashtag Get Warrior Tough. You can find me there. All right, and then go like the Facebook page, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go to the website, getwarriortough.com. Hey, man, fill in your name and your email address in the Start Now box and get all of our newest stuff. Tons of free content. Also, you'll man, if you guys wanted just to reduce the stress in your life and get clarity and focus and have the same confidence that Spec Ops snipers and professional athletes have, click on the homepage, look at Mental Toughness 101 and get it. There's 5 audio files, a workbook to download. Dutch and I will walk you hand in hand down the psychologically proven path to gain clarity and get control of your life and your work-rest cycle and work-life balance and all that good stuff. And then join the Phalanx. Go to the Next Steps page and join the Phalanx. Now, Dutch, you and I had talked about this Phalanx thing. We're about to kick it off here. Did we decide on a date that we would just kick the thing off?
Did we say December 1st?
All right, December 1st. So if anybody joins right now, you join the Phalanx and you subscribe. Dutch and I will give you personal coaching that only executives and high-end performers actually get on your vision and your identity statement, and whatever other questions you have right now, you will get that for the first 25. Is that right, Judge? We're just going to hold it off for the first 25 because you and I are going to have to spend a lot of time with these folks in personal coaching. Is that what we're doing?
First 25.
The first 25 that subscribe between now and we will kick off the Phalanx calls, the weekly calls on December 1st. You will get the personal coaching and attention from Dutch and I, and man, that's invaluable. I got to tell you, it's people pay us $500 an hour for that stuff, and I'm not kidding. And it's worth every penny. Actually, it's like a tip. Yeah, I mean, there's $1 million worth of stuff going on in there, both emotionally, stress control-wise, mentally, relationship-wise, and also figuring out exactly what your target is and where you want to go, what your internal identity is. All these things, we hammer them down, give you an execution formula for moving forward, set you up on a growth plan. It's all the stuff that our high-end CEOs that pay us tons of money to do this stuff. It's first 25. The first 25 people jump on it. All right, Dutch. Let's talk about what's been going on in our lives this week. I got to tell you, WCCP gave us tickets to the Clemson-App State game. And I've never been to a Clemson game before. You know, I'm an Alabama fan. But now I'm starting to drink the orange Kool-Aid, sip on it a little bit anyway. Right, so it was all – I mean, the atmosphere is amazing there, man. The energy is amazing in Death Valley. I don't know why they call it Death Valley except that the opponents die, but it was life. It was fun. Folks are courteous. It's a family atmosphere. My wife and kids were down there. It was great, man.
Yeah, it's absolutely Death Valley. That's where opponents go to die. I think the old Presbyterian coach was, if I'm not mistaken, was the first coach to call it Death Valley, and it stuck with it. And also the history of the Rock also has some history in Death Valley. So it's I think it's an appropriate name. Death Valley is pretty cool on top of that. So.
Yeah, and we got pictures, a family photo of us at the Rock, and that's on Facebook. And it was really cool. It was a really cool experience watching them run down the hill and just seeing everybody in action, up close and personal. And it was an amazing experience. So I could see why people, and we had a spot for tailgating at Valley Walk, which was near the SO Club for all the Clemson. It is really close to the stadium, just in a grassy area. There was a pavilion with large screen TVs. Everybody was out. I could see why you would do it, man. I'm just saying, I would see why people would do it.
It's absolutely a wonderful atmosphere, family oriented. Most of the time, it's a beautiful day. sun shining, Southern hospitality, a bunch of foods being cooked on your left, your right, your front, your back. People are just really, really nice. And this is before you even get to the football game.
Right.
So, it's a wonderful, wonderful experience. So I would suggest that if you hadn't done it, work your way over there and get a piece of it.
Now, is it like that up there in Happy Valley? Is it like that? I know it's a lot colder, but
Well, yes, it's a lot colder, but the tailgating is very big. I mean, it's a lot of people. You think it's 107,000 people at the game. There's many more tailgating. The setup is really spectacular. It's not as grassy and as green as a Clemson tailgate. Of course, you don't have the rolling hills and all those different things you have going on at Clemson.
Right.
But from a tailgating standpoint, the setup is still fascinating. And if you went there, it is another thing that you need to do before you move on in life. You might want to stop by and tailgate in Happy Valley
and check it out. That's all. I mean, it really is. It's just, oh man, it was really cool. I got to tell you, it was just really cool. And I had flown in, and I'd been up in. I did a swing all week. I was in Baltimore and then drove up to New Jersey, and I was in a different city every night this week. So then I was in like Edison, New Jersey, and Morristown, New Jersey, and Saddlebrook, which is right across the river up there from New York City. And it was just I got in at midnight or 12:30, and then we had to get up at like 6:30 to go tailgate. So I'm just, my butt is dragging, and I was just like, man, I really just want to lay in the bed. And so I got there. And it was just a really good time. So I got, it was really cool. And then I still got home in time to see Alabama, do what they do. Wow. And I also, on the way home, though, was here in Auburn having a really hard time with some high school team. No disrespect to Jacksonville State. But yeah, let's just talk a little bit about that, for this first segment, because I want to just kind of, get your thoughts on how the men, here's what my wife said. She said, she said, babe, what I'm seeing, and Clemson didn't look that good against App State. I got to tell you, they did not look that good, even though the score, they weren't executing. And the first quarter was just awful. And she said, I think it's hard for folks to these teams to get mentally up for an opponent that they think they're just going to crush. Now, you're an athlete, man. You've been an athlete. You've been in those locker rooms. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's a couple of ways to look at it. It's the preseason. College teams don't get preseason games like the NFL. I mean, if you had the NFL teams rolling out there from game one without any preseason, you get some hiccups, you get some mistakes. You have to get your chemistry down, especially when you lost a lot of talent, such as Clemson, such a team like Clemson. I can't speak for Auburn, because I think even with all those things said, you end up with an ugly 41-10 win. That's the way it should be, a 35-13 win. Because you were sluggish, you weren't connecting, you weren't playing well. So, you escape only winning by 20 when you should win by 35. Not, I won by 7 in overtime. Or, in Arkansas's case, losing to Toledo.
Yeah.
I think that's where you have an issue. Yes, it's real that the preseason does play a factor in it, that you might not be ready. But the good news is neither team is ready. Neither team should be ready. So as much as that's an excuse for you, Jacksonville State could be saying the same thing. Hey, it's preseason for us too, buddy.
Right. And so, but I mean, you're seeing it's almost like across the board, whenever we're a high-end team that is so over, they're like the line is just so huge that you're so favored. Is it hard when you're so favored to bring your A game and not just coast?
I think it goes from individual to individual. For me, I just love playing the game. It doesn't really matter to me. I just love being out there. I always love being out there. And for the most part, I think most of the guys are like that. But I really think it has to do with the connection of everybody. Because if you have one or two people on that 11-man squad that are distant, that aren't mentally prepared, then it messes up the program. It messes up the engine, because you have a couple parts that are kind of straggling behind, a couple guys that aren't doing their job. They aren't mentally in tune like the rest of the team. So it kind of causes a drop off. So as a team, it's hard to speak for a team being not mentally ready, but for a team to not be mentally ready, all you need is a couple people to not be mentally ready, and it affects the whole team.
And I find this in business as well, man. We talk to a lot of corporations, we go into a lot of companies, and this is exactly what happens, man. And a chain is only as strong as its what?
Weakest link.
Right. And so we have people that are disengaged, or they're just not mentally attuned. And this is an interesting thing that you said, man. You said that you always love to go play the game, and I think this is where it breaks down. The people in their jobs, whatever, to go do their job, they don't actually love it. A lot of them, they hate their job. I listen to their self-talk. I can't, it's a hard time for me to even go, hang out to a backyard barbecue, because people, they hate their job, they hate their spouse, they hate their life, and it's just a big complaining moan fest. And so it's hard to be engaged if you don't love what you do. I mean, if you love what you do, you're going to go give your best at whatever it is, right? I mean,
absolutely. And it's okay. It seems like it's okay when it's just you, but as you're saying, you're talking about corporations,
right?
You're a cog. You're a cog in the whole machine. And if you're not ready to go, if you're not operating at your peak potential, your highest points, you're affecting the rest of the team. You're affecting the rest of the corporation. You're affecting the bottom line, which is never good.
And I just the more that I'm out there, and I'm going around the country. It's like I leave usually Sunday afternoon at noon. I don't get in till midnight on Friday, and I'm out doing training and consulting and speaking to corporations and workers and businesses. And it's a pandemic, man. People they're just doing enough not to get fired. They're not engaged. They don't take responsibility. They don't love what they do. And they don't care about what happens. They just don't. And then they'll complain that they don't have a job, or that there's layoffs or whatever, and the economy's not good. The economy's great, man. I mean, there's so much opportunity out there. There's so many problems that people could solve if you would just step up to the plate and solve them. And this goes right back to, I think, this whole mentality that we're talking about. You love the game, and so you're going to go give your best, and you're playing at your best level because you love it, not because you have to, or you're not just doing enough not to get cut or whatever. And that's what championship teams are, when everybody's on that same page, where everybody's doing what they love, and they're all pulling together like the Clydesdale horses, I like to think, in the Budweiser wagon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where all the horses pull together. I don't know, man. It's one of my pet peeves, and I just see it everywhere I go, and it seems to be like a pandemic in this country, that we're just phoning in, doing our jobs. And I saw a lot of that in college football this weekend, and it was very disheartening for me to see it even out on the field in sports.
Yeah, and that's right in front of us. So a lot of times, as a sports organization, I get to see it. I get to go back and watch the film, and I get to diagnose, and I can go talk to certain players or talk to certain units, my receiving core, my running backs. I can talk to them about their performance. When you're dealing with corporations, a lot of times, by the time you figure out what a problem is, it's too late. You've already lost millions of dollars.
Right.
So you have to, from a corporate standpoint, you have to get ahead of that. You have to be in there engaging your employees, giving them training that's going to get them engaged. You have to do things ahead of time, because by the time you figure out who the problem is or what the problem is, you done lost $5 million. You done lost $10 million. So you have to put devices in place and trainings in place and different mediums or mechanisms in place to prepare or to prevent your employees from ever getting there, or if they're there now, to pull them out of there. Because every moment you waste not doing that, not having your employees prepared, you're losing dollars. They're flying right out the window.
Right out the window. And I want to, and this is the difference between what you just said, and we got to go to break, but here's the difference, is that it's not just training, because that's just like summer camp, but this is what a sports team and a football team does. It's coaching and mentoring, and there's that constant feedback loop, and that's what's missing in corporations. They don't want to do the coaching. They might even spend some money on training, but there isn't any coaching and that constant feedback loop and making course corrections. Oh, we did a training, we're good for the quarter, we're good for the year. And in a football, like you said, every time they're doing an after-action report, they're checking film and they're going forward. All right, we got to go to break, and we'll be right back after break. Thanks so much for being part of the listening audience at Get Warrior Tough.
Do you want to be Warrior Tough? Do you want your employees to be Warrior Tough too? With abilities to handle difficult situations as a well-oiled machine? Andrew Wittman has been teaching leadership, discipline, critical thinking, emotional intelligence, and mental toughness for 30 years. His seminars build strong working relationships, high-performance teams, effective communication in crisis, and conflict management skills. He'll change the way you look at yourself, your company, your job, your life. He is dynamic, engaging, and stimulating in his presentation, and he can help you build and develop the leadership skills and high-performance skills needed for your team. He'll give you the tools that will not only increase the positive product output in business, but in your personal life as well. To get complete information on how Andrew can help you, call 864-977-1772 or log on to GetWarriorTough.com.